Hello and welcome to another episode from My Geek Culture and Reece's Reviews podcast. My name is Reece and I am running solo on this episode today, and I'm going to dive straight into a bunch of things today. We're going to be doing some reviews pretty much overall. This entire episode is going to be on reviews. So I'm going to be talking about a musical that is currently being performed here in Sydney before it moves on to the rest of the country, and going through a particular season of television. Now as it's wrapped up its finale of the entire series, and then maybe touch on one or two films that it came out just around Christmas time as well. So we've got a full range episode for you today. As I said at the beginning, I am running solo today. Matt Man is not with us today. I've got a bunch of things I wanted to discuss and provide to our awesome audience, and he's running a bit with some other things on his schedule, so he's not joining me on this one, but nonetheless, I hope you will stick with me and enjoy this episode. Now, the first thing off the rank that I'm going to be talking about is a musical that has been pretty much in Sydney and pretty much going around Australia at the present moment, and it's based off a film that I've seen maybe once or twice in my lifetime, and understood why it has the cult following that it does. It is cemented in the pretty much the rom-com genre. It's one of those go-to films you always will see, and it has the go-to stars in it as well, and I'm of course talking about Pretty Woman the musical. Now, everyone knows the story of Pretty Woman. We know the song, we know the story about this young woman on the streets trying to make things work as a escort, and then pretty much meets this very much his bachelor, this very much rich man who's focused on his work, focused on his pretty much that's his entire life is, and then circumstances arise and these two meet and the story unfolds from there. So this one is starring in the titular role of Vivian Ward as the beautiful and amazingly talented Samantha Jade, who won X Factor years and years and years ago. I've been a fan of Samantha Jade since that time, and she's only continued to grow, and I was so excited to pretty much be able to go to the theatre. I was able to sit front row, so being able to experience everything right up and close and experience what Samantha Jade was able to provide, and being able only seeing her as a pop star, here in Australia. I actually never seen her do much of the acting side, so I was also intrigued to see how she would do that, and I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, she delivered. She played this part perfectly. Her amazing vocals definitely contributed to the role and being able to provide it. The songs that they originally wrote for this adaptation from movie to the stage were all great songs. I wouldn't say I walked out of there wanting to buy the soundtrack or anything, but they were definitely a lot catchy, and I got to the intermission and I was having so much fun. I was enthralled within the story. I loved the characters, I loved the music, the choreography was fantastic, and even though it was being played at the Theatre Royal, which is the stage isn't too big when you compare it to the likes of the Sydney Lyric, of the Capitol Theatre, or even the State Theatre, they were able to utilise the stage very, very well with the props and the changing from scene to scene and doing very seamlessly as well, which I found was very intriguing. They were able to do so, and complementing Samantha Jade with her presence and the performance she provided was her amazing cast. So we had Ben Hall playing pretty much her co-lead of Edward Lewis. You had amazing also within the reality kind of show side of things when it comes to X Factor and things like that. You had formerly Tim-O-Matic, but you had Tim Amaji playing the happy man, Mr. Thompson, who played Roswell, and he was brilliant. He was the one who stood out to me. Him, and along with the gentleman who played like the bellman, and I'm pretty sure that was, just trying to think about when it comes to the cast, I'm pretty sure that was one of the main, I can't really recall which gentleman played him, but it might have been Jordan Angladius, I think, from memory, or maybe it was Fabian Andreas, maybe it was him, but he stole the show when it comes to his comedic timing. You know, an actress or an actor knows about comedic when they can utilize their features without saying words. Like the physical comedy was definitely transparent with the actor playing the bellman and the side of those kind of things within the ensemble. So that was very on point as well, and the entire cast was just all on point. They knew their roles and knew how to bring things out. So Michelle Brazier, who played pretty much Vivian's best friend on the streets, Kit DeLuca, she was fantastic. She brought that New York accent very rich. She'd played up to a part. You had Douglas Hansel playing pretty much Edward Lewis's lawyer kind of / zombie best friend, Philip Stuckey, which was fantastic. And then the rest of the ensemble were just all fantastic to watch, and it was so much entertaining. And if you listen to this podcast recently, I went and saw Back to the Future, the musical, which I did have a great time. I thought the stage production of that was absolutely incredible. But even though it's different, the story is different, and it's a different genre and everything, I think when you go to musical theatre, you still want to get that sense of entertainment and things like, depending on what the genre and what the subject matter of the show is. And I think even though Pretty Woman and Back to the Future are different when it comes to genres, they also do step into the point of fun and entertainment. They both have that. They both be in that same kind of familiar genre. And I can honestly say I got to half the intermission with Back to the Future, and I did not have the same feeling as I did with Pretty Woman the musical. Like, I got to the intermission and I was having so much fun, and I could not wait for them to come back and just finish off the story. Everything was definitely on point. All the performances were fantastic. Samantha Jade, I know you're probably not listening to this podcast because we're just a run-of-the-mill little nobody here, but you were fantastic. Your stage presence was great. Your vocals were great, and your chemistry you had with Ben Hall definitely overflowed on the stage, and I think that was just fantastic. I think the three standouts from me, the standouts from me definitely were the chemistry between Samantha Jade and Ben Hall. And then you had Tim Amaji. He's like, every time he was on screen, his physical presence, the physical comedy, the dancing, his choreography, he has not missed a beat when it comes to his dancing skills that we showed when he was formerly known as Tim-O-Matic, and just everything was just fantastic. So I would definitely highly recommend seeing Pretty Woman the musical. Please go out and see it before it leaves Sydney. It's a fun time to be had. It is definitely, like, yes, it is more, the target demographic is for the female audience because of the subject matter behind the adaptation of being a rom-com, but I think guys will get just as much fun out of the show when it comes to the dancing, the comedy, the banter between everything, and just the message that the show represents, of being able to not judge a book by its cover. Everyone deserves a second chance and to be treated beautifully and respectfully and things like that, and just having some fun and trust in one another and in each other. So I would highly recommend it, and if you can, just go out and see it. And it's a fun time to be had. It's, when it comes to other shows around, when it comes to stage shows, it is actually reasonably priced as well. So when you go to see other shows, like when you go see Back to the Future, for example, you're paying a little bit of a higher price. I think it's on similar parts depending on which seating you're going to, but yeah, when it comes to the common market that we're in at the moment, it's definitely, I think this is a good night out at the theatre, and I would again highly recommend watching Pretty Woman the musical. Okay, moving on to the next one. This is where I'm going to go into the TV realm. Now, if anyone is listening to this, I recently, as of the recording of this podcast, yesterday I went to the Stranger Things experience at Luna Park, Sydney, which I had a great fun time. Please go on to our YouTube channel. You'll be able to see my review and my experience on that. And as promised, I'm going and delving into the finale. Now, as I noted within my experience review, is that I didn't jump on the bandwagon with Stranger Things until quite recently. Now, when I wasn't part of the the craze when this first came out or got into it as the seasons went on. I've been pestered by family and some friends of mine to get onto this because they've pretty much said that this is right up my alley. I love my fantasy, and I love the coming of age story and the drama, those kind of style of shows. And everyone said that this is right up your alley. Why aren't you watching this? It's set in the 80s, and it's just that nostalgia is definitely there. And I don't know why, but I put it off. I wasn't really into it when it first came out. I didn't know I think I watched the first episode and it didn't really grab me. But after some pesteration from family and friends over this last year, 2025, I thought I'd give it a go. And the fact that they were gearing up to the finale of season 5 coming out, I did it at the perfect time. So I pretty much went through and binge watched all of season 4. And when I got to the time I finished off watching season 5 part 2, I was pretty much there was only a few days before the finale dropped on New Year's Day, and I am now an avid fan of the series. I love the series. The coming of age was definitely something that stood out to me, with all the different characters growing and the relationships between Dustin and Steven was definitely a highlight. And because you wouldn't really think those two would have a budding friendship, but they definitely provided that. The beautiful romances and relationships, like everyone goes towards Mike and 11, but I also think that Max and Lucas were a standout as well, that relationship as well. So I'm going to go into some spoilers here in season 5. So pretty much the finale's been out for a couple of weeks now, so if you haven't watched it already, you're probably not really interested. But I am going to go into some spoiler territory when it comes to season 5, so you've been pre-warned. Spoiler warning ahead. Okay, season 5 for me is not the strongest for me. I still think, in my personal opinion, I still think season 4 is my favorite above everything when it comes to narrative and how it flowed and how the finale was able to keep you so much more engaged. But I'm not saying that they did not deliver. I really enjoyed season 5 and the way they just had to hit the ground running straight into the Upside Down, 11 training, and with pretty much being able to train with Hopper and go forward from there, and then all the rest of the crew getting around and things like that. And then the realization at the end of the first part, I think at the end of episode 4, pretty much with all the things that he's gone through with Will, him getting his own powers, and being able to do a lot of the things that 11 was able to. He was able to enter the minds of Vecna and go forward from there. And just the whole idea of progressing those kind of, not just keeping them as they were, but I think that one of the things I find is that Mike didn't have too much to do in this season, which I thought was a bit of a letdown of his character. Like he was around, but he didn't actually contribute too much to as he normally would have, which is a kind of bit of a shame. But then you had a lot of other moments with other characters that actually stood up. It's like he actually had a finally with Steve, Joe Carey's character, was able to pretty much show that he wasn't just a follow-on kind of character. He actually gave the end plan to the team. Like he was able to provide that to the team, pretty much saying that when the antenna meets the Upside Down and pretty much bring everything together, 11 can go in there and do her business. And I found that was a great character push forward. And that whole scene in the end of that, towards the end of the season, where you've got all the ensemble cast in that room and they're all explaining, finally telling the audience what is the Upside Down, it's actually not actually a different plane, but it's a bridge between a place which they call the Abyss, and all that stuff, which was fantastic to see as well. And then moving into the finale was like watching episode 9 was just going, okay, yep, I'm geared up. It kept you very elevated and across everything as well. And then bringing in some past characters from season 2 when it comes to 11's sister, and bringing in those kind of things as well. So just bringing everything full circle and everything from there. So going into the finale, I had some high expectations, the way they were, the budget and what they were able to provide with the story. And here's my 2 cents. Do I think they absolutely nailed the finale? To be completely honest, probably not. But what I would say is that the final scene was finished off perfectly. I loved the finale, the last scene with them all playing the final crew, the Hellraiser club, including Max, was all there playing D&D, pretty much bringing the entire series full circle with them starting up playing D&D, and they ended playing D&D, and pretty much providing that point to give some of a great moment for Finn Wolfhard's character Mike. A point of being what he was always been. He is a storyteller of the group, and providing this alternative scenario is pretty much saying that when it comes to what happened to 11. So I wanted to backtrack a little bit to that moment where you got 11 pretty much she's saying goodbye. She's in that void and everything's closing down within the Upside Down. She is sacrificing herself, so everything doesn't come full circle and repeat when it comes to people wanting to go after 11 to replicate and take over and pretty much experiment on her to bring up another Henry, another Zero, another Vecna. And so bringing in that and having her sacrifice there, I thought was a beautiful, beautiful moment. The scene between Millie Bobby Brown and Finn Wolfhard, so from between 11 and Mike, was a beautiful, beautiful scene. I got very much a little bit emotional with that, especially with the tie-in with Prince's Purple Rain, the song there, pretty much giving us all the flashbacks of, and there, what's the word I'm looking for? Pretty much the entire relationship between Mike and 11 was shown through flashbacks and just shown there, and pretty much 11 pretty much saying, you have to accept my choices, and he goes, even if I know you won't accept them right now, but you will in due time. You have to explain this to everyone. Thank you for showing me what it's like to be a friend and things like that. It was a very beautiful scene, and this shows Millie Bobby Brown is a beautiful young actress, and I think she's fantastic. She's got a huge career ahead of her. I do hope that we do see her a bit more outside of Netflix originals when it comes to films and TV. She does have some presence she can bring to a theatrical side, so I hope I see her explore more of that avenue. But that scene was so beautiful to see, and I think that's where I circle back when it comes to the finale, is that I think the first act of the finale was fantastic. I think it was rushed on a little bit too quick, like when it comes to the final battle scene between the Vecna and the big monster at the end and things like that. I think that was rushed a little bit. They could have drawn that out a little bit further. And like I said at the beginning of this point, is that I love that final scene with them all playing D&D, and then ending with placing all their binders on the shelf, and then one by one they're walking up the stairs, and then it ends with with Mike's and Nancy's sister Holly coming down the stairs with her friends, and they're all gearing up to play their own campaign of D&D, and pretty much saying that the baton has been passed on to these ones, to these young ones, and they're going to push the story forward in their own narrative as well. So I thought that was such an amazing way to finish off the show. Chef's kiss for that. It was absolutely beautiful. But like I said, with that being said, even though I had an absolute picture perfect ending for the series with that one scene, the whole finale as a whole, I didn't think it worked as much. I think there's a lot of scenes in the middle after they do the time jump wasn't necessary. There was some things that really weren't. They really dragged out. You didn't need it. Like, I appreciated the scenes that they provide us, especially the scene between Jim Hopper and Mike on the bench, pretty much with Mike still blaming himself and Jim pretty much consoling him and pretty much saying it's not. I found that was great. I understood the reference of the scene between Hopper and Joyce being able to go back to that restaurant they've always planned of going on their date and proposing. I understood that was more a fan service as well. But I didn't really think that was really necessary as well. And I actually, a lot of people are reviewing, I actually quite enjoyed the graduation scene. We're pretty much paying, like, Dustin's character in this season was pretty much a very angry and still reeling with the loss of his friend that happened back in season 4. Eddie. So that is Eddie. So Dustin is still dealing with the loss of Eddie and the sacrifice that he made, and that scene between Dustin and Steven, and pretty much Steven pretty much blaming, they say he's not a hero, he did him to himself. That scene was so powerful, and then that just shows a bit more of their relationship where they don't want each other to die, and he goes, you die, I die. It's kind of thing that I thought was very beautiful, so in that relationship, which is amazing. But backtracking to the graduation scene, I actually find it was very much a full circle moment. So pretty much a lot of those sequences is pretty much, they're tying up a lot of things that they've hinted at throughout the series, and with the graduation, pretty much with the fact that Dustin's pretty much doing exactly what Eddie said in that episode in the beginning part of season 4, was fantastic. It was a good episode. I think it definitely showed how much more development that Dustin has had. I did enjoy it. That's the thing. These are something that they pretty much is a lot of fan service in a lot of these points. So I found that was very interesting to see as well. So, and then the part of the episode where you got all the older kids around on the rooftops, when you've got Steve and you've got Nancy and you've got Jonathan and you've got Robin. They're all on the rooftop and pretty much explaining what they've been doing since they've been with the time jump and things like that. I thought it was great, but one would say it was great. It was entertaining in a point to show what they're going to be doing, but again, the scene wasn't necessary in a point. Like, I thought that Robin's Maya Hawke's performance was beautiful. Like, she's the one that stood out to me when it comes to those four and that performance on that rooftop. Maya Hawke's performance was the one that stood out to me the most. I mean, she was a beautiful emotional experience there, but the scene wasn't necessary. So a lot of that part dragged out a lot of it. They could have maybe gave a bit more of that time to the first act of the show with the battle and bringing things together and fighting and that kind of stuff. They could have put more time into that. So overall, I thought, is it the worst? It's not like the worst series finale of a series. It's absolutely not. But at the same time, did it tick all the boxes? No. But I still had an absolutely fun time watching it, especially with the first act and the last scene. I thought those two were absolutely incredible to watch. The visuals were fantastic. The showing the big battle scene and Elle pretty much flying up and going straight into the monster and having a one-on-one battle. And the coup de grace is the fact that we actually got to have a moment where Winona Ryder's character Joyce, she's gone through a lot of this series, and you don't actually realize it because a lot of the focus is on the kids, but she has gone through a lot, and the fact that she got a moment where she got to pretty much end Vecna, and pretty much the look at pretty much the idea of Vecna pretty much hanging there impaled, and she's just looking and goes, "You fuck with the wrong family," and just took his head off. Like, that was just, I was revved up and went, yes, I loved that. That was awesome. So I thought that was great as well. Another great moment. Like, again, a lot of fan service within this episode. A lot of great moments, a lot of scare moments when you thought a certain character was going to die. And so it was fun. Actually a fun time to be had. And when it comes to that final moment when Mike is telling the stories about what each person within the campaign is going to be doing with relation to their characters, and then he gives the scenario of what he is, the alternative scenario that 11 survived in the scenario he gave. I personally do not believe. I think 11 is dead. That is my opinion. Some people think that she is alive, depending on what, if they believe what the story that Mike provided. I personally don't think she is dead. I do believe that she is dead. She sacrificed herself for her friends, for her father, her adopted father, and everyone, to make sure that this doesn't happen again and that Hawkins is finally safe. So I personally think that she sacrificed herself. There are some people that can counteract that, but with some points, with the fact that she wasn't bleeding from her nose when she was talking to Mike and things like that. But I choose to believe that she sacrificed herself for her friends, even though I would love to have a happy ending with Mike and 11 and the entire crew. Sacrifices are needed to be made, so I enjoyed it. So that is my long-winded review of Season 5. I enjoyed it, but it was great, focusing a little bit more on the finale, but hey, that's what we're here to talk about. So that is my review of Season 5 of Stranger Things. Okay, now we're going into a film review. Now, the next two film reviews, these both came out on Boxing Day, so they are still in the 2025, but they are still being played in theatres. This first one is a film by, from the pretty much first episode of this podcast, I pretty much said that the actor that my favorite actor of all time is Hugh Jackman. So any movie that he gets releases, I will see it just because he is in it. This film has no exception, and this one was Song Sung Blue. Now, I am not a Neil Diamond fan. I don't know anything about what this true story unfolded. I don't know anything about it, so I went into this film completely blind, and I was glad that happened because I was definitely surprised with this film. Like I quite enjoyed it. I thought there was a lot of moments where they showed a lot of heart and just how much love can save you even in dark times and things like that. So, like I said, I didn't know the only song of Neil Diamond I knew from this movie was Sweet Caroline. That's the only song I knew. I didn't watch it for Neil Diamond. I watched it for this true story between these two amazing people later on in their careers about wanting to be this cover band of Neil Diamond, Lightning and Thunder, and just how the trials that they went through and the scenarios that their family had to endure with what happens to the characters and how things progress. It was actually beautiful. Like, Hugh Jackman and Kate Hudson gave amazing performances. I know a lot of it is more being put on Kate Hudson and shining a bit more of a light on her with a lot of the awards buzz lately, but Hugh Jackman provided just as much a great performance as well. But I can understand when people are more focusing on Kate, because there are certain moments where you just are in awe of what she provided within the narrative, what the story was. It is tragically beautiful. There is a lot of not knowing it was knowing it was based on the true story. Made it just as much as heartbreaking and beautiful as well, and it was shot beautifully. Like the director Craig Brewer who also co-wrote this with Craig Goals. I think they did a beautiful job. Like, especially when you get to there's a scene at the end which is shown in the trailers when they're performing with a choir in the background with the band and things like that. That scene is amazingly shot when it comes to the way they were panning around it and being also character driven as well. Like, they're not just shooting a performance. They were pretty much every shot was definitely done with character in mind and focusing on Hugh Jackman's character, Mike, and shooting to Claire at a certain point, and then shooting to the crowd, to the certain people in the crowd by means of Jim Belushi's character, Tim D'Amato, and the daughters of both Claire and Mike, and just going through the entire thing was actually beautiful to see. And I've had some time to dwell on, to think about this film. I gave it 4 stars on my Letterboxd, and I think it's definitely worth that 4 stars. Like, I wouldn't give it a 5 out of 5 because there are certain moments of it I felt dragged on a tiny bit in the middle, in the second act. It took me out of it. They lingered a bit more on certain things they shouldn't have, but then they were able to bring you straight back in towards the end of that second act, going into the third and end of the finale, and just break your heart at the end of it with certain moments as well. So whether that heartbreak is good or bad, I'm not going to say, because we don't do spoilers on new releases on this podcast. But I would say even if you're not a fan of Neil Diamond and even if you don't know the story, I would still say go out and watch this film. It has a message to be said. The film definitely does have a message, and it's pretty much about sticking with the ones that you love. You can dream together, even though your dreams might take you in different paths, and you might deviate a certain point. You can always bring them back together, and you can actually elevate yourselves together as a couple, and just believe in the love that you have, and you know that you can always. Love would always bring you back if you trust in it enough. So, the buzz that is going around this film is definitely warranted. I believe it's not getting talked about enough. Like, it's kind of come and gone very much in a very quick way, but I believe this film should be watched, and I think it should. When it comes to the award season, I don't know if it's gonna get a lot of attention when it comes to direction, a best picture, and things like that, I do hope some of the awards for the actress and actor side of things will get with some recognition. When it comes to Hugh and Kate, I think, if I'm being completely honest, I think Kate's going to get more of an attention on this film than Hugh, unfortunately. But it's still recognition for the film itself. So I would say go out, give this one a chance, because I personally think you would not be disappointed, because it does give a great story to get behind. It makes you believe in the characters and the love story that these two are there to portray, and it kind of confirms the fact of Kate Hudson is a triple threat. A lot of people don't think that she is, but she's actually a triple threat. She's an amazing singer. She's an amazing dancer. Anyone who thinks she's not an amazing dancer, just watch a few episodes of Glee that she was on, and just shows how great a dancer she is, and a singer. And she's a great actress, which we've always known from the days that I first saw her in Almost Famous up until now. She's just elevated and as well. And I'm personally a bit of a bias when it comes to Hugh Jackman, because he's my favorite actor of all time, but he's just getting better and better, if that's even possible, and more of a triple threat than always. So I would say go out, give Song of Blue a chance, go in there with your sweet Caroline, as you will, and have some fun watching this amazing biography drama of this amazing couple, which should definitely be shown. So that is Song Blue. Okay, now we're going into my last one here for today. Now, this is a brand new re-release that got released on Boxing Day. I only recently watched this as of yesterday, and this is one I've been very intrigued about. I know I'm a fan of the main actors in the series. I am also a fan of the director as well. So coming into this as well, I'm intrigued to see what was able to transpire. And I'm of course talking about The Housemaid, based off a novel of the same name and directed by Paul Feig. So Paul Feig has got a great filmography as a director, because he's just provides you so much different quality of films. Like, he goes from having The Housemaid, and then he goes and does something like Last Christmas, and then he goes and does something like A Simple Favor, Ghostbusters, which wasn't really great, I'm sorry, but it wasn't really great, which is the rebooted female one. And then he's also known for a lot of comedies. He did a few episodes of The Office, the American version. He did an episode of Parks and Rec. He did... What else did he do? He's done Heat. He did Bridesmaids. He's known for a lot of his comedies and his rom-com, and then he's done this. And he nailed it. The themes of this film was so heavy on suspense and... suspenseful and drama-fueled psychological thriller. That word, psychological thriller, that is what I would sum up this film. This will keep you on the edge. Like, there are certain things like Amanda Seyfried, wow, she provided a performance like you really wanted to punch her and hate her in a lot of those scenes. But then the great thing about the narrative of the story is that there are certain points where you actually start feeling for the character, which is amazing to her character, and the way the narrative is shot by Paul, and the screenplay was done so beautifully that you get to a point where you think, you start off with the film in one point thinking about certain characters, and by the end you'll think about something completely different, which is amazing to see. Like, I've seen a lot of films in my day. That should not be argued by anyone. I watch a lot of films, so there's a lot of times where I pick the endings. I can pick plot points. I can pick things a lot easier, which annoys a lot of people because I can see how things are going to translate. And there was a lot of moments in this film where I didn't know where they were going to go. I had no idea, and I was so surprised, which I absolutely loved, because I got to the end of this film and I was just like, wow, I had an experience, like, which is what you want to come when you go to the movie theater. You want to walk out having an experience and just having something that makes you think, and sometimes, and just have a ball with. And I want to say I had actually a fun time watching it, but it was just definitely a film where it was keeping you guessing, it kept you intrigued, it kept you captivated, you liked the characters, well, certain characters, some characters you want to still punch, but at the same time, like, you were right behind Sydney Sweeney's character from the get-go, and you understood where she was coming from, the situation that she was in, and what she was had to deal with, and certain things. So I just felt that all three of the cast, Amanda Seyfried, Sydney Sweeney, Brendan Skedler, all gave great performances, and you were right behind each one of them. Each moment was absolutely fantastic. This tone of the film is definitely a thriller. That sums up this film. The thriller tones of the film is what it's pervaded in the marketing are all on point. There is no comedy in this film. It's all drama, suspense, and thriller. That's all it is. And that's so captivating because you don't get too many films like this these days where you've got those style of films where sometimes you find that the thrill aspect is there, but they drop the ball a little bit throughout the film and then they pick it up and it comes back down. But they kept the tone so consistent throughout the entire thing, and you're on the edge of your seat, you're kind of nervous in points, and you're going, oh, whoa. Sometimes it's hard to watch because you just wanted to, you can't understand it because we know a lot of the themes in this film and a lot of the character tropes are people in real life. We know these people exist, which is also so frightening but also so captivating about the film as well. The film does lose you a little bit when it's momentum in the middle. There are certain parts where you're going, oh, okay, I feel the momentum is you're losing a little bit, and you're starting to feel it a little bit when it comes to the length and things like that. But then just as it starts to get a bit hard to that hard point, it kicks right back into gear, and it late in the second act, and then by the time you get into that late second act into the third act, you're strapped in and you're right there and run to the end. So literally there's probably about a 15-minute space in the middle where you're going, oh, okay, it's losing me a tiny bit when it comes to its momentum, and because it's only so much you can take of the undertones of this film. When you got to breathe a new breath of fresh air to kind of give yourself a bit of a palate cleanser before you go back into the psychological side of things. But that's where I think I left it a little bit in the middle. But then that's where it pivoted towards another subgenre, and I was able to pick then it keep you going. Oh, okay. Whew, give you a bit of time to breathe, and then smack right back into it again. So I think they did that very well. I thought the direction, what Paul Feig was able to provide out of the actors and how he was able to narrate this film was done very, very well. Now, I love the fact that I didn't know the source material of this film. The fact that I know it is based off a book, the fact that I didn't know anything about it. The only thing I knew about this film is what they showed us in the marketing of the film, which I so loved because I did not see certain parts of the ending happening. And the right at the end, I knew sort of what was going to happen with that point. I picked it at certain points, but there were certain plot points that happened in the third act where I'm going, oh, I have no idea how this is going to go, and which I really, really enjoyed. And it also leaves it open. So we all kind of know that they are in discussions and looks like they're going to go in. They're I'm pretty sure it's been greenlit to go into pre-production, a sequel called The Housemaid's Secret. Now, this is no surprise. So that's already been announced. So I'm not giving away any spoilers on that point. But if you want to have a film that's going to be a bit different to any other thriller you've had, have one that's got great performances. You see a little bit more of Sydney Sweeney than you did in watching Anyone But You. I can give you that much. And then you've got, if you want to say, great performances, a narrative that keeps you guessing at certain points, have a great thriller, and just have a different experience that you normally would, then I would definitely give The Housemaid a chance and a go, because what the audience is saying about it is definitely, I can say it's warranted, because it's giving a good escapism, but it also gives you a lot of thought-provoking in certain areas and makes you think about how the story progresses. Like, you're watching this film and you don't know how far they are going to go and where it's going to deviate and how things are going to come back together to a certain point. So I thoroughly enjoyed it, and the coup de grace, this is not a spoiler at all, because it's anything to do with the actual film. It's just something that they put at the end credits. And I thought it was a perfect choice. They put in Taylor Swift's I Did Something Bad at the end credits, which anyone who knows what the story is about and how things progress, that is a perfect song. Like, that's where they actually choose a song, not because it's a popular song or they try to forcefully try to get you to feel something. This song, definitely the lyrics that Taylor originally wrote the song for, fits into what this movie is all about and how the characters are feeling at the end of it. And it was perfectly made. So I love that song overall. I love that song by Taylor Swift, and the fact that they put that at the end, just perfect way to end it off as well. So overall, I love the film. I gave it 4 stars on my Letterboxd. As I said, it dropped down that star and that half star because of that middle section with losing its momentum and delving a little bit too much into the tone, the thriller tone, because you need a bit of a palate cleanser, which they eventually got to, and what I was thankful for before they went back into that later on. So I thought that was really, really good as well. And just overall, I know I keep saying a lot, I'm repeating a lot of my words, but it's a fun time to be had when you walk into a film and you're surprised. I didn't know how much expectations I had about this film, but they exceeded my expectations. I was so captivated with what they were able to provide in this film and surprised me, which is fantastic to see. So if anyone wants a different experience and have a great thrill ride and different experience, like I said, go give Housemaid a chance. It's still out of the theaters for a bit longer, and go have a go. So there you have it. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this solo episode. Thank you so much for sticking with me for this solo episode. It's very much appreciated. I hope you got something out of it. I loved talking about all this stuff. So if you have any feedback, what did you think about the films that I talked about? What did you think about the finale of Stranger Things? I'll put the question out there. Do you believe that 11 is dead? Yes or no? Let me know. This is Reece Casual from My Geek Culture and Reece's Reviews podcast. I wish you all the very best when you're listening to this podcast. And as always, my friends and family out there, may the Force be with you. May the Schwartz be with you. I've got to put that in for Maddie. Woo!